Well, the federal government wants it to be illegal for under 16-year-olds to access social media and wants to get this legislation all ticked off by the end of this week. The Albanese government is standing strong in the face of accusations that it's trying to force the bill through the parliament without appropriate consultation. Now, if successful, the plan would be for platforms such as Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat and X to come under new restrictions. YouTube would be permitted for educational and health support. But Toowoomba lawyer and educator Adair Donaldson says the legislation may be a step in the right direction, but one thing it won't stop is online bullying. Back in 2007, in response to seeing too many young lives ruined by poor decisions, Adair developed his first educational resource for school leavers that was all about educating them about the law and about the consequences of ignoring the law. Now, nearly 20 years later, this has evolved into education, consultancy and advocacy work on a national level. He advocates and educates sporting bodies, peak bodies regarding gendered violence, schools, universities and workplaces. And he's presented and continues to present workshops to thousands of employees, students, parents and athletes. Adair still works closely with the NRL to develop and implement educational resources for their players and clubs. He joins me now for a chat about why he thinks the legislation that's currently before Parliament won't necessarily stop online bullying. Adair Donaldson, good morning and welcome. Great to chat to you.
G'day, David.
Adair, today the major parties are expected to unite to introduce this under-16 social media ban bill through Parliament. There's a lot of concern about it. Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young said she's worried it's a blunt instrument that's not actually going to work to do what it's meant to do. I think Keith Peters said there's a lot of good for social media for that age group that's being overlooked. You've also said it won't prevent online bullying. Why do you think so?
Well, first of all, David, I support the ban for people aged under 16 being able to use and post on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok and Snapchat. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to police, but I think it's a start. Is it going to stop online bullying from occurring? No. And the reason for that is that the services that are used, that I see on the front line, dealing with schools and dealing with employers even, is that the services that are used are invariably direct messaging or WhatsApp group. Now, those messaging services are still not going to be included in the new legislation that's being introduced. So I would stress, however, that in Australia and in every state, we already have laws in place that make it a criminal offence to use the carriage service, including social media services, to menace, harass or to cause offence. In each of the individual states, there's also laws with respect to stalking or laws with respect to threats, which make it a criminal offence. Now, obviously those laws don't apply for somebody that is below the age of criminal responsibility, which is invariably 10 years of age, but everybody above that should be aware of what the law is and how it applies to them. And from my perspective, instead of keeping on coming back and blaming the schools for this behaviour or for blaming others for the behaviour, well, at the end of the day, people have to take responsibility for their own actions. And if somebody is going to be out there and they are going to be engaging in behaviour that is designed to bully, is designed to harass, designed to cause offence and cause mental harm, well, they should feel the consequences of that. By consequences, I mean that it should, and again, I'm very cautious of overburdening our already overworked police force, but people need to understand that this is criminal behaviour.
Having said that, though, you took the words right out of my mouth in terms of at the risk of overburdening our already under-stressed police force. Is that a reason why perhaps those laws already in place but don't seem to be overly effective? Because a lot of people say if that 13-year-old was receiving vile texts from someone else, it's quite clear who's sending them, but their parent says, look, there's got to be another way. I'm not going to go to the police with something that a parent might see as being that trivial, or they might not because they have no confidence that the police won't have what the police consider bigger fish to fry.
David, I'm not sure I agree with you there. Okay, from a point of view that, particularly with respect to text message, etc., you can, with some degree of certainty, say who's been sending the messages.
Sure.
We're talking about situations where people are using threats, where they are harassing and menacing, etc. Now, we wouldn't accept that behaviour from an adult. We wouldn't accept it from an adult. If that was occurring, there would be complaints made, etc.
Sure.
Now, I don't want this to be lost. I am saying to you that I support the government's initiatives in relation to what it's doing at the moment. All right, though, from a point of view that if the experts say that this is going to be one of the ways to try to keep youth safe, well, let's try it. But on the same hand, those that are going out there and using direct messaging, WhatsApp, etc., which is not covered by the legislation, then there should be consequences in relation to that action. And the consequences we've got at the moment are the law. Those laws are there, okay? And quite frankly, it shouldn't be left to our schools to be policing that. My experience is that the majority of people, when they know where the line is with respect to the law, that they may push up against that line, but they won't cross it. So there is a huge effort that needs to be done to be educating people in relation to the legality and the consequences of their actions, because I don't believe that we are ever going to eradicate bullying and harassment, etc., from occurring. But what we can eradicate is the ignorance of the law, so people, including children aged 10 and above, can never say that they didn't know what the consequences were going to be. So how do we deliver that training? Well, obviously our schools are overburdened at the moment, but we can ensure that our schools are at the very least educating children in relation to legal consequences of their behaviour so they know what the law says. But I also believe that there's a role for employers. And what employers should be doing is that they should actually be delivering training to their workforce in relation to what the law is with respect to the use of social media, WhatsApp, direct messaging, etc. Because obviously if they were to behave in that manner in the workforce, well, they wouldn't have a job. But hopefully by educating if employers are going to do that, well, we're going to hopefully be able to engage with parents, and then parents can then pass that information on to their children. So that's another way that we can act to educate people to then be getting it back to the children that may be at risk of committing offences there.
If what is needed is just to highlight the fact that these acts are illegal and the law is there to protect and culprits will be punished, why isn't it enough for that disincentive to work and just be emphasised to eradicate the whole problem? Why is there a need to ban kids under 16 from social media as well?
Well, David, I think all the studies are saying the longer you can delay introducing your kids to social media, the better it is for their mental health and their learning generally. I think there's extensive studies that talk about that. And all I can comment on, David, obviously is legality. I can't comment in relation to what other well-qualified people through the research that has been done over many years. I think that it's quite commonly accepted that the longer that you can delay introducing your children to social media, the better it is for their development.
Lawyer and educator Adair Donaldson there. He works these days to develop educational programs and consult on legal issues affecting young people, but also about training and I guess branching out beyond young people to really anyone, of course, adults in the workplace and teens, about the legal consequences of things like alcohol abuse, sexual assaults, gendered violence, discrimination, illicit drugs, violence, social media, the illegal use of technology. They're all things that he's quite passionate about. That's his thoughts on the legislation that the federal government is looking to, it wants to have it all done and dusted. The under-16 ban on under-16s from social media by the end of the week. More on that in the news.